Okay, this is a follow-up to the video I just started a few moments ago. I'm gonna have to. Uh, the synopsis I was going to talk about was on it, and I'm gonna have to transfer that over, I guess. So, without my notes that I just made and then lost because my camera screwed up, and I lost the stream because it went unstable. Uh, it's an update from Camp Serenity, Dave the Barn Boy, et cetera, and so on. Uh, I have an interesting couple of weeks. A little bit dramatic. We've had a death on the property. Our friend Steve has passed away. I believe it was from a heart attack, is what the story I've been given. Um, he was on dialysis. He wasn't feeling well for a while. And it's very sad news. All death is sad news. And it hits hard to home, especially when it's on the same piece of land that you're dwelling on. I mean, like local. I'm literally the barn part of the house. My brother's house a few days back was surrounded by the SWAT team on a mistaken fucking something or other. Everybody around us is dealing with fucking weird issues. Okay, that sounds a little dramatic, but it's part of the story, okay? We've got to create some drama. Anyway, all in a matter of a couple of days, all these different things happened. There was tons more. I'm exaggerating, right? There's a lot of little things that happened that are insignificant all by themselves, but all taken together at one time is like, wow, where's that straw that breaks a camel's back sort of thing, right? So after one of these traumatic days, oh, and I yeah, there was more to it. I ended up spending a night at my brother's place, and apparently slept way longer than I thought I did. Everyone was gone when I woke up. My brother thought I had already left and gone home, the one that was supposed to give me the ride home. My other brother thought we both took off on him. He goes to work. We were planning the day together, and it was like, holy shit. So it was too hot in my brother's house for me to like stay inside. So I spent the afternoon out on the porch. And it all turned out good. But in light of all the other things too, you know how I am with sirens and police and all that. We had all the emergency vehicles right here at the property. And this time, instead of going out and seeing what was going on, I just stayed in. I didn't want. It's like if I'm in trouble again, I'll hear about it. They'll be banging on the fucking cottage door here, right? So I end up going to sleep and not worrying about it. Later, just to find out one of my friends here has died. A good start today, and it snowballed from there, one thing after the next, you know. So after all that started, as it's settling down, I'm coming home thinking, all right, that's it. The wave is over. My food bin has been broken into. Some animals been in the hallway and knocked a lot of my stuff over. I had to clean that up. It must have been a big animal. And I come inside. My main food bin has a big, huge hole in the top of it. And fortunately, all I lost was a loaf of bread. And they were genius about it. The bag was still in the box. I couldn't see a crumb of bread anywhere in there, and they didn't break into anything else. Thinking that's over, I've got another container. I put a cloth over it, thinking that's going to help. A day later, that one's taken care of as well. They're inside that, and they decimated everything. They poked a hole in literally everything I had in there. So it's like, okay, fuck, does this ever end? Now, meanwhile, I'm pooping in a bucket, and I got to dig holes in the forest and be very clever of where I put them because I don't want to walk along the trail one summer day in my bare feet and whoops. Neither do I want to stink or anything else. So there's some challenges to that, and we're working on it. Um, Sometimes I flush it down the toilet here, but I thought, trying to get the DNA back in the land. So it's something very, very gradual that I'm very careful about where I initialize this. We could talk about little test areas. Once upon a time, a person lived in the forest, and the forest was thriving. Just something to think about, okay? And wherever, like 90% of the time, my piss all ends up outside now. I was just pouring it in the toilet, but now I put it outside. Even when I take in a bucket, whatever, I'm careful where I dump it because it's a lot of piss at one shot. But I tend to do it when it's pissing down rain. I put it in the wettest spots, and sometimes I'll spread it over an area. And it's areas that I've been working on trying to cultivate the soil to actually grow food for myself, to somehow create an environment where I I can grow, harvest, and store enough food outside in the wild using only natural things and create a dwelling where I'm in harmony with the animals and wildlife that naturally develops. So, it's really challenging when I'm looking at problems like, okay, we've got runoff coming from the road, we got pesticides coming down here. There's these various elements of toxicity that are above and beyond what you would normally have in a healthy environment. So it's proven quite challenging. So anyway, about the food, back to the food. I've had a garbage can, a metal one, that I used the summer before, to store a good chunk of my food. And no break-ins. I had heat problems, uh, temperature changes causing condensation. I've adapted and I've like formulated solutions for those issues, which turned out to be quite simple after I realized it. But leading up to it, I spent weeks agonizing about how the hell do I prevent it? And it turns out to be quite easy. We'll get to that in another video. Um, and then my mother and sister had got a filing cabinet that has lots of opening in it. Okay. So there's air movement. It's got great ventilation for storing things. And it's only about, 2 feet, 2 by 1 by about two. No, wait a minute. Yeah, 2 by 2 by 1. 2 feet high, 2 feet deep, 1 foot wide. And it's got two cabinets, one that you lift on the top, one that you open on the bottom with a key on it so you can close it. Now, unless the raccoon is really clever, there isn't any creatures getting into that except possibly ants. But it's on these little pedestals, and where I've got it, the chances of ants being there are very, very slim. It's so improbable, I'm not even going to worry about it. Plus, in the 8 years I've been here, believe it or not, I went from having ants all over my apartment to I've never seen an ant in my apartment in like 3 or 4 now. We adapt, right? However, I have had about 300 or 400 ant bites over that period of time from out in the forest. So I don't know if there's a connect. I'm just giving my impressions of the last little while I've been doing this. Because I haven't done any updates in quite a while. I've been all over the place. So I'm organizing now. It's like, okay, I had to take all that food that I had in, like the Tupperware containers were huge, right? I had a fair bit of food. And when I had to put it into the smaller containers, I realized, wow. I'm just saying, it's got me thinking about food storage, how much we really need, and how long do we need to store it. And I'm thinking with respect to moving outside and what is going to be needed there. So for a period of time, we'll be taking food from, the, what do you call it? What everyone does there's a word for it, from the grocery store. From the normal channels that we're accustomed to, I think is where I was going with that. As a backup, while I try my best to accomplish growing food outside in the forest, in an area that I think suits. Like over the last I guess it's 9 years now. We'll be going on 10, I think, in September. Uh, I've got a route that literally maps out. It's a circular map that goes right through my apartment, back out, goes outside, out the door here, over down the valley, across, over through past my dwelling, down around it, comes right back up, and then goes along the edge of the embankment, and then comes back because there's an area that is really difficult to get up over because of the way the trees are and everything else. So I go off a bit and then come back, and then I've got a path that comes basically almost directly back to the trailer here and to the door at the other end, where I come back and go inside. And there's all these little alcoves off the side. So some of them alcoves down the forest is where I'll be. On the outer edge is where I plan on doing the little potholes to bury my shit and my toilet paper mixed with sticks, little bits of mud, because I don't want to have that putrefaction stuff. I want it to dissolve. I want it to be oxygenated. So I'm digging the hole first. I'll be placing objects in it, like rock and stuff, to create this, okay, and carefully mixing it together with the intent that in the spring and as time progresses, right, I can plant a number of different seeds. There's going to be my DNA in it. It's on the border of the edge of the path that I take. And this area that I've mapped out over this period of time is an area where I feel, as long as I had the ability to meet with some friends and guests, say at the common fire pit here, I don't see any need that I'd ever have to leave that, other than to maybe walk some trails in the forest to get specialty items like wild leeks and mushrooms. But then again, the area that I traverse here, I realized there could be enough food growing there if everything we did was for some sort of productive means to sustain our personal individual being. And I don't think that the human waste, the shit that we put out, literally your poop, okay, or toilet paper is any kind of biohazard if it's done properly. And the way we're doing it today, I don't care how well it's treated, it's not the way it's supposed to be done. So anyway, I got my food in all metal containers. I've been going through methodologies of stacking and, like a heater where you have like a hot water column cascaded with this bit, like the pressures can release. It's not all in one container. You're kind of going and thinking of airflow. Without showing the pictures of what I'm doing here, this probably sound a little stupid. So maybe I'll leave that alone. Oh, and as I was cleaning up the Tupperware containers that are all destroyed now, I've got no Tupperware containers where I can store food because they're wide open. Like every one of them have big, huge, irregular shaped holes. And they've literally done it in a matter of a few hours in most cases. There was a wild cat that used to take perch right here on this blanket here. But about 6-7 days ago, just before my food bins got broken into, I haven't seen it since. And obviously there was something happened here in the hallway because everything was knocked over when I came back. And I haven't seen the cat since then. So I don't know if a wild dog, one of the neighbor dogs, I don't know. But there's a lot of stuff knocked over. It looked like something that happened in here. I had to clean up a little bit of things knocked over that I know weren't knocked over when I left. Plus my little tent tarp here to close my door was open about 2 feet, which I'm very careful about that, especially when it's been cold out like lately. Today, fortunately, I'm missing a metal lid here soon. Yeah. So I wish I had my notes that I had earlier. So maybe we'll just end it there. If I've forgotten anything, I'll amend to it later. I'm basically doing okay. My leg is starting to heal up. I've been working on it for a while. Skin gets really thick. I've got a rash in there, started with a poison ivy. Doctor says to do a varicose veins, circulation. I don't know. So I stopped wearing socks in my boots, and I found it right away. My feet stayed warmer than when I wore the socks. So it's got me thinking about, footwear, clothing. A lot of the rashes and stuff that I've had on my head have cleared up. I got a number of little, because of, I walked in a tree the other day. I don't know if it shows on the top here, but I got a real tender spot right here. It caused me to pull my neck muscles, which, sometimes it can make it go all over the place. And then the other day, my brother picked me up. I was getting into the back of the pickup truck. Instead of putting the gate down, I had my foot. It's icy out, okay? I had my foot with slippery boots on the tailgate, the bumper at the back. Which I don't know why they wouldn't make those bumpers so they're more sloped. Well, yeah, I guess we accumulate garbage. Anyway, I got one foot in the back of the cab, in the back of the pickup, and the other one on the tailgate, and it slipped off, and I didn't quite make it to the ground, and I had my hands on a bicycle pulling back like this. I was literally in a spot where I felt like now I finally did. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the bike moved a bit, but whatever. My foot just touched the ground, and at that point, I let it pull back. But I thought I was going to break my knee again. I'd just gotten over knee problems. So on my right side, I got my knee sore again. I got a little stress in my back, neck pulled in this side. Last week, it was this side from sitting like this for like 3 hours. Instead of putting what's on this screen onto this one and looking straight at it, I was like this for I think it was close to 3 hours, and I got up like this. Holy fuck! Snap! And then I do the same thing by hitting my head on a tree just after this one clears up. When you talk about cascade, you go like, holy fuck, what's up? Something to think about. So at this point, I'm just going moment by moment, doing what I have to. Oh, yeah, and when I was cleaning up, I found a box of unprocessed, maybe I shouldn't say this, unprocessed weed that I harvested last year that I grew myself. And it's got loads of seeds in it. And the rats and mice love marijuana seeds. I had a problem with them last year when they were trying to cut down the stems, and they were just taking the stems away with the buds on them. I lost probably, I bet you, over 2 pounds of stuff to the rats. And I hope that some of them seeds naturalize and start growing wild naturally. That would be really cool. So it's unprocessed, and it was in the last, it is like a Tupperware container. It's a smaller one, but I'd forgotten I put it there. And when I went to get the garbage bin to bring in, I had a big box of unprocessed weed that I forgot I put there. So I've got quite a bit that needs processing still. I've done half of it. And, once you get all this, like they're all in stems and stuff, right? You clean it all up, you can fit it in a small container. So I've started doing that tonight. I got a wee bit more to do, but basically I've got all my edibles that could potentially be destroyed or decimated by, animals breaking into is now secure. So after all these years, it boils down to this. If you're going to try this and you want that, safety net, you need metal containers to store your food. You want ventilation. The garbage cans, I think what I got to do is drill some holes in the lid and a couple tiny holes in the bottom, and that should take care of the ventilation problem. And for other things, straw, maybe crumpled newspaper with straw on top of it, cardboard, paper. Be careful what kind, because newspaper and stuff, I wouldn't wrap your shit in that. I tried some experiments with it, and I think there's some stuff that might not be very good for us in that. So it's like, okay, there's a big relief. I've just figured out, okay, that's how I'm going to store food, and I don't need a big mass of anything, Things that I use frequently, I put in jars with metal lids, right? And I'm really careful about the metal jar or the glass jars because me and glass don't have a good relationship. So I've got them in like a big metal box where it's easily accessible. I don't label anything because I know what I put where. If there's no one else here, I know what's where. And I don't have to worry about it. I don't need to label it because there's no one looking at it. There's no one changing it. And the brain does it naturally. It's part of a routine. You don't have to think about it. And that, I think, is absolutely magical. Part of essential alchemy for the wizards. So the biggest and heaviest thing on my mind now is get my leg better, which, by the way, if I didn't mention, I think I did, about finding a pair of boots or shoe wear where you don't need to wear socks. I found that wearing socks pulls the toes together. They don't move individually as much. And you want as much wiggle room in your boots as you can get. Don't worry if they're a little sloppy. You'll learn how to walk where you don't get that rash. And I found that the rash I do have on my leg, because the skin gets thick and needs itching a lot or scratching or scrubbing, I tend to use a cloth so that I don't actually nail scratch it because then it starts bleeding and makes it worse. That gentle rubbing on the skin actually is good for you. That's why I like to have the clothes all nice and loose. So as you're moving, it's massaging your skin, allowing it to breathe at the same time until I can develop some sort of natural clothing. Maybe our bodies have some natural clothing we don't know about. Evolution is going all over the place these days, right? You never know. And since all that shit's cleared up on the top of my head, them itchy sores I used to have, I got one tiny, tiny, tiny little one in the back of my neck. As soon as that disappears, I want to start letting my hair grow and see how far I can go before maybe it won't start again this time. Once it's gone, it's gone. I don't know. So there's a lot of challenges in trying to make the transition to the outdoors. And we're learning a lot about the safety net. I think for most of you, you're going to find there's no way to do it and keep it clean, as they say, and neat and organized. You're going to go through chaos to get there. And it's not so bad because right now, more than ever, it doesn't look like a chair if I was to show you. I'm sitting on some water containers, foam, some plastic containers, a couple of pillows, more foam in the background, and just keep sitting in different positions, push against the desk underneath. There's these comfortable spots where I can just sit here. And it mimics some of the natural shapes I've got outdoors in the forest that I found. And I'm trying to take all the luxuries that we're accustomed to in the world, if you will, in our society of humanity, and try and adapt that to something, is the word analogous, in the natural realm outside in the forest. And there's a lot of challenges. Wish I'd started this when I was a lot younger. So those little cesspools I'm making with the poop that I'm putting out there, planning on growing, is thinking maybe starting a row of trees and different shrubs along the perimeter into those. Because as they grow, I could dig more holes around, like you aerate and you just drop. And I'm not talking about big, huge pits. I'm talking about you dig a 6-inch hole and you put like 2 days or 3 days worth of shit, leave it open for a bit, and then cover it with sticks. It dries up, the ultraviolet kills all the bacteria that's nasty. It's oxygenated. The rain flows into that hole. The worms are coming in, okay, and there's a lot of beetles that take care, okay, rats will clean out the necessary edibles in it. And these are all in your own local circle. You've made your own little fucking path. And in nature, we don't have square lines and perfect circles. It just doesn't happen. Even crystals that look perfect. Under a microscope, you'll see the beautiful swirling everything. Like very, very rare you got a sharp edge anywhere. Because when you get down to the atomic scale, everything's kind of round anyway. Or is it? With that, I don't think there's anything more significant to relay. Um, I have a fan going here all the time for circulation, trying to cover it all with fabric. If anyone's out there and you got fabrics that you don't need or want, bring them here. I hang them outside to get them sterilized in the ultraviolet first, and then I bring them into my doorway and walk over them for a month or two, and then I start hanging them up on the wall. And the reason I do that is to purify it. You might think that's crazy. Well, I am Crazy Davy, the barn boy, and that's my job. I also want to set up the computer so that I've got a little bit better setup here. There's a lot of things I'd like to do to make it look better. If I concentrate on that, I'm not learning the stuff I need to know in the forest. So there's a careful balance and mix, because we've got to be concerned too. We can't just jump into it. Our bodies aren't built for it, but I know we can adapt. I know at one time, if I had just been plopped into this, I couldn't have done it. Right now, it just seems so almost boringly effortless. I'm looking for, oh, here we go. I don't need one, but to have a girlfriend to come out in the forest with me and we could do this stuff together, I can go with her, whatever. That'd be pretty fucking cool. I think that'd be the next big item I'd like to add to my list of, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. However, until that day, try to look for ways to play. It's one thing watching videos, trying to educate, trying to do stuff online here. I'm not sure where I was going with that. Okay, that's the natural conclusion of this session then. We've just run out. Thanks for joining me. And we'll update as soon as possible. Hope you're having a good time. You got anything to contribute, any ideas? Toilet composting, how to make a natural fire outside in your dwelling, blah, 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 blah. Anything, let me know.